Sanje Chodan Soje Chonaim Lai Chanchu Pardo Dane Chamsu Che Dage Jinsu Jibe Sunam Che Rola Bencher Sanje Robar Shu Sanje Chodan Soje Chonaim La Chanchu Pardo Dane Chamsu Che Dage Jinsu Sunam Che Rola Penchira Sanje Roba Shu Sanje Chodan Soje Chonam La Chanchu Pardo Dane Chamsu Che Dage Jinsu Jibe Sunam Che Rola Penchira Sanje Roba Shu Simcha Tamche Dewa Dan Devi Jodan Dembara Church Dongara Dan Dongara Che Jodan Rawara Church Dongara Mebe Dewa Tamba Tam Mindra Wara Church Nirin Chadan Dan Jarve Dan Yum Chenbo La Nebar Church Chomden de jambe yang lai chan tsai lo kange lo drim nye dren nye dra nam da rab sarve chi nye tun gun chi shen si chi ni chi tu kara le bam se Kanda sibe tsunra mari muntum dungra chi sir ve andro tso kun la puchi tar se yan la tu ju yang den su Rudra Chirdo Nyumo Nilon Leje Chadro Rose Chen Mari Musra Dungra Nyugu Chinye Chunze Rajan Dune Tajen Sachu Tarsun Yundina Luzo Gerse Tuyu Ku Chuta Chuta Chuni Jent Dalu Musran Jambe Yang La Du Zedyan Chuje Chara Vizir Che Dalu Timu Mimba Rapsan Gada Dinchu Shunlu Toba Ye Ludru Bobe Nawa Tsartu Sur.
Good afternoon. So, over this weekend, we didn't really get into the text further. I thought that it was nonetheless important that we specify a little further for you what we mean by the great vehicle, the vehicle of the bodhisattvas, and also to underline the importance of bodhicitta and why it's so important for us to effectively and truly generate bodhicitta. And once we've generated bodhicitta, how important it is not to forget it, how we have to hold it like the most precious things in our eyes, behold it, and unceasingly cultivate bodhicitta. And if those aspects aren't really effectively integrated, the practices, the aspirations, the seven-branch practice, wisdom, the path of the great vehicle cannot be envisaged. So in order to effectively envisage the great vehicle and the practices of the great vehicle, to understand the texts like the one that we are looking at now, it is absolutely necessary to first understand what is bodhicitta, what is the path of the bodhisattvas, and to know to be able to cherish this point in particular, and this is the reason maybe why we took time, and I also wanted to show you how the great vehicle is not something is in any way opposed to contradicts other vehicles of Buddhism. It is the continuity. So if we understand the Four Noble Truths, then we understand it not just for us, but for other sentient beings. So loving kindness, compassion are fundamental qualities in Buddhism in general. And then when this compassion is accompanied by a real courage, a commitment to other sentient beings, then that we talk about the great vehicle. It's going into greater depth. So it's not as if love and compassion is a new notion in the great vehicle. It's all present in the fundamental teachings, texts, but driven, moved by the love and compassion for all beings. How can I devote myself only to this and be a shed of all personal interest? That's another question. That demands a lot of, depends a lot on courage. And when we become aware of this, we have to proceed step by step, master the fundamentals of Buddhism, and in particular understand the teaching of the Four Noble Truths, the absence of self, absence of existence of self, to understand dependent arising, dependent origination, through studies, studying the 12 links of dependent arising, and on this basis cultivate the qualities by adopting the lay persons to adopt ethical discipline. It applies also to secular people, to lay people. We have to adopt this ethical discipline through refuge, understand refuge, maintain the commitment to engagement in refuge, and on this basis we can deepen this with the pratikmosha vows, the vows of individual liberation as a lay person, and upasika, the Sanskrit terms for secular ordination, layperson ordination, and then make the vow not to kill, not to steal. Not very difficult not to do. The point is not to do it in appearance. If society imposes rules, we try and do things. We can try and do negative acts indirectly to escape punishment of society, but here it's profoundly driven by the desire not to hurt, to harm other sentient beings, whether it's to humans and animals, not to harm. And so if we can adopt some qualities, not only will we reduce the causes of future suffering for ourselves, we might even avoid more suffering and ensure more well-being for us in this life and in our future life. So it's very important to adopt ethical discipline of pratikmosha, and to reinforce this, try to dissipate afflictions, to learn the teaching on the absence of self, try and put into practice the Four Unlimited, become familiar with shamatha and vipassana, and then step by step, if possible, gradually, we put the focus, the accent, the emphasis on generating bodhicitta in our lineage. So I invite you to do this, to generate, veritably generate bodhicitta, take the vows of bodhisattva, to understand what the precepts of the bodhisattva are, and have this discipline. It's very important. And then the points on wisdom are very subtle, profound. So we have to receive instructions on these subjects, think about them, see through oneself the points that are taught, given, and what we've understood. We have to cultivate it in our in our experience, and thus associate with all practice. Associate this with the practice of the 6 paramitas and enter the great vehicle, and not only be beneficial to others but also to oneself. So the best thing we can do, best project we could have, best thing we can do for this life, for our future lives, for ourselves, for others. So this is the great project before us. And in this case, the practice is according to the sutras, and we saw before together the perfection of wisdom in its short version, the Prajnaparamita Sutra in its shortest version, which is the sutra that is the quintessence of the perfection of wisdom. We studied this in past years together. We also studied the Madhyamaka in the past. Some of you have also followed me in Kundalini in Auvergne, where I explained the Bodhicharyavatara, the practice of bodhisattvas, explained in great detail. This is all these important information. And at Dakpo, I was asked to speak about the 5 sutras, the 5 Royal Sutras, and we've already seen the perfection of wisdom, and now we're looking at the aspiration, the King of Aspiration prayers of excellent conduct. And so in August, I think we will try to look more directly at the text. That we saw the first part already, but the second part, which is essentially the aspirations, is not philosophically very complex. The text, of course, the point that I spoke of goes beyond our grasping and the belief in the inherent nature, that there is no inherent nature in phenomena. So I think maybe you've caught a glimpse of this, but independently of the explanations that are given, it's important to oneself to think about these things, to come back on them, to look, to question one's graspings, to put them under the light of the Buddha's teachings, and thereby to dissipate ignorance, the false attachments that we have. And then, and in that way, once we finish this text, the next part looks at different aspirations, the aspirations of the vows that we formulate, and the benefits of these aspirations. The favorable consequences of these aspirations, of the practice of the bodhisattvas. This is also presented in the text, and we will look at the text in detail after. And then after that, next year, probably we will look at the practice of the 35 Buddhas. It's to be confirmed, we'll see, which is also parts. It's the sutra in 3 parts, in 3 sections. That is a practice whose essential aim is to purify our negative acts and restore our bodhisattva vows. So it's a very important practice, and I will explain the practice. We will look at the text. Maybe we can also practice a little together. And then there's a then there is the there is the Dharaniya Vidarana. We'll see after. So I thought maybe this afternoon, maybe we could discuss a little further. If you have questions or. Rinpoche, what is the most direct method to eradicate grasping of a self? Answer, bodhicitta. Simple answer. But if we haven't had explanations on bodhicitta, we wouldn't understand. But I think to start by make us to sincerely examine. I'm grasping this self, this I. What is it? Is it the mind? Is it a consciousness? Is in what way is it one? Where's the unity? Where do I find the unity when I observe who I am, my consciousness, my mind? My mind is my conscious. My different consciences. Is the I one, permanent? Well, this vision seems to establish sometimes, but it's a bit like honey, it sticks. But how do I stay in this awareness without being taken by this mechanism of ignorance? Well, there are 2 things. There's the view, the impression that there is an I. I think there is an I think there is a self. And then there's the attachment to the I, the cherishing of the self, the expression of selfishness and afflictions, and all that comes from stems from the thought of that there is a self. And if there's no self, and if all things are impermanent, the deception, the suffering, all this confusion comes from this grasping, this erroneous grasping. And then we won't be afraid of letting go of this grasp, what we're grasping. We're very afraid of letting go of the I. We think that we're going to hurt ourselves. We think we're going to suffer. We're going to be in pain. Because we can have some kind of fear that can arise. So we have to try and reach a stage where we have confidence in the innate qualities of our mind, that there's a kind of freedom beyond. And it's because that I grasp that suffering appears. So if we practice meditation in a calm, abiding way, we can see that what allows all this experience is not the I, it's the it's the qualities that are both luminosity and emptiness that cannot be grasped. It's not nothing, but it cannot be compared to the I. And it allows all these experience. And if I can establish there and be confident in it, all these appearances are possible because of this. And they're only appearances. And if we recognize them as appearances and illusion, we are less afraid. We don't. The more we are familiarized with these innate qualities, I don't pretend to be a great practitioner, but there's more calm, more confidence, less fear. More our mind is stable, more the pain emerges as in a film. My masters would say that for a beginning practitioner, the grasping of appearances is a bit like a drawing on stone. It's very difficult to erase it. There's very, very strong grasping and engraving in stone. And so for someone who's practiced a bit, it's an engraving in sand. It can be erased. And then it's like an engraving that we do on the surface of the water. There's like a trace that stays. And finally, it's like an engraving in space. There's no trace. All these appearances that are manifest in our mind is like in a dream. It appears, but the reality they hold is all the greater. Is all the greater. The extent to which we grasp them, the more hold they will have on us. And it's not a matter of rejecting them. We don't have to stop them. Everything is possible. But the more we recognize them as illusions, we have less grasping. But we have the karmic disposition to see them. But we are a little less affected by them. We are the greater stability we have in calm abiding. The more discernment is present. So pain affects us less. There are stories of masters. I was told the story of a Kempo. He had become blind. They're very, very, very accomplished practitioners, and he had explained that he became blind. The karmic consequence of in a past life as a horse, he had blinded another horse with his clog. So he had, so in this life he had lost his view. But through meditation, with one sense, with other senses he could read, like he could touch a text with other senses and read it. So we have to be confident in our minds. We are so obsessed with appearances, and we're really not very familiar with the reality of our mind. We're always looking at the outside. We are hardly familiar with what's inside us. In fact, we kind of completely ignore it because we're so focused on the outside. So the first thing is to kind of turn inside, turn within, and take confidence in what's going on inside. And so the barrier between subject and object completely disappears. Yesterday afternoon, you gave the example of anger, the story of this monk who had done this very long retreat, and who was sure that he had been he got rid of anger, and then his master provoked him. Like if I talk about my personal case, how can I not be subject to anger? How can I get to the point of to the source of my anger so that I'm not affected by circumstances? So I think the complete elimination of afflictions is a very, very great accomplishment. For a beginner, we can't imagine that in a few years in retreat we can get rid of our afflictions. They will always be there. But the more one becomes familiar with the natural state of the mind, with emptiness, then these tendencies might manifest. These tendencies might manifest themselves, but they have less of a hold on us, less of a grip on us. So when anger has nothing to fuel can't be fueled by anything, it won't manifest in the same. So if you cultivate bodhicitta, even if you're not highly realized in terms of wisdom, imagine if you're a parent and you have a child that you adore. No matter what the child does, you don't. Who would do? I mean, you just put up with it. You're ready to accept everything. You're ready to put up with it, no matter what, by the force of the strength of this affection. So if you lean on the force of this affection, loving kindness, no anger will be born. So we have to familiarize ourselves with these qualities. That's why we say practice, practice, practice. It's not like with sports where you have to win medals and others notice you. It's not that. Practice is you are your own. You are your own judge. You're your own witness. You're your own referee of yourself. You have to be very honest with yourself. The afflictions that you maintain are poisons. So it's not a matter of pride or it's to sincerely you with you to look at this, to become, when you have recognized a quality, then try to cultivate it. Try to cultivate part of the practice. Some of the practice can be, we have to cultivate some beneficial concepts, like all beings are my parents, all beings have been good to me. If this person is acting this way, it's because he or she is the victim of afflictions. He or she is tormented by hatred. Maybe I hurt them. If we have these thoughts, these are thoughts that can nourish tolerance, loving kindness, that will support loving kindness. These are positive concepts. But if we think, oh, he abused me, he took advantage of me, he hurt me, as long as we have these thoughts, anger and resentment will never leave us, will always be within us. There's a stanza in the Dharmapada. The one who insults me, the one who hurts me, the one who steals from me, the one who makes me lose. If I think of all these points, he insulted me, he abused me. If we think this, hatred will never pacify. If we don't maintain these thoughts, uphold these thoughts, hatred will not be there. For example, a bodhisattva, if you steal from a bodhisattva, would think, oh, well, how happy I am. He or she took what was already theirs. He spared me the effort to bring this person something. I have heard that a great master was in pilgrimage in India. It was in the 50s. And when he reached near Sanchin, there were some Indian bandits that stole everything from him. And then he called them back. He said, you forgot something. And he still had a piece of gold that he had hidden, and he gave it to them. He said, oh, you forgot something. This is quite extraordinary. So if we can try to follow the examples of these great masters. In the Torch of Certainty, another question. It's explained, the practice of Dorje Sempa is explained. It's said that if we have no concentration on the visualization, we could practice for kalpas, we would have no result. So it's very discouraging because I don't have much concentration. And so what can you say to me on this subject? Well, it's a bit like what I was saying earlier with the recitation of the sutra. If being present physically and verbally, the reality is that it's our mind that accumulates karma, that produces karma. Everything depends on our mind, the disposition of our mind. If our mind is distracted, being either in torpor, or so we're not there, we're absent, or in agitation, or we're thinking of all other things, and that we're here physically present, verbally present, we're following, we're not really practicing. So what's important in the practice is, first of all, to have an immense respect, an immense esteem towards the practice. For example, you are extremely privileged, you're receiving certain practices that the masters transmitted to us. I mean, they went through enormous difficulties to acquire them. For example, the Master Marpa had to spend all his heritage. The Indian masters made him pay for every teaching, very, very at the price of gold. Every transmission, every empowerment he had to pay, every teaching he had to pay. Very, very expensive. And then in the end, Naropa took all the gold and threw it all away. And he said, well, what to do with your gold? I made you pay so that you could esteem this teaching, so that you could see how important it is. And if we don't have esteem for the practice, we don't see the fortune we have, to what point it's efficient, to what point it's beneficial. So it's the most important point. We really have to have confidence in the practice, confidence in the importance of developing bodhicitta. Our life from morning to night we go from one distraction to another when we observe what's going on inside on a daily basis. Either we're in torpor or sort of a little dumb, sort of out of it, or excited, or observing a fiction, being distracted, cultivating desire, aversion, constantly distracted. That's our daily reality, and we go nowhere like that. All we do is go from distraction to discrimination, from discrimination to other discriminations. And for now, for a while, I'm not suffering, but I am. To give you an image, it's like I'm walking along a precipice, and at the bottom of it, there are all the unfortunate existence, ants, insects. Look at their conditions. Fundamentally, those beings aren't different from us. Why are they there and I am here? It's a provisional marriage. It could change at any time. Right now, on top of it, I have the jewel that fulfills all wishes. I have it's as if I've met the Buddha in person. I have access to the Dharma. I can at last put an end to all these illusions through this practice. How can I not try and do it as well as possible? This is the kind of motivation we have to have. The motivation towards Dharma. Nothing should seem more important. And so to give oneself time every day. And when we do it, start with the preliminaries. We always start with the 4 fundamental thoughts that turn the mind away from samsara. These are extremely true points. It's not just understanding it intellectually, it's to realize it. That is the case. Life is impermanent. Our future depends on our actions and our afflictions. Nothing can help us more than the Dharma. And then, of course, it's not a matter of being perfect right away. It's for sure when we start practicing, it's difficult at the beginning. We'll be distracted. We won't be able to concentrate. It's not always easy. To recite a mantra in Sanskrit, it's not easy. I lose sight of the object of meditation, and when I see the object of meditation, then I can't follow the text. Of course, this sort of happens at the beginning. But as we practice and train ourselves, the more we esteem and respect the practice, the more meaning things gain. And at the beginning, it can seem strange, like, why must I concentrate on a figure? This is to help us. We're used to looking at images. It's not becoming attached to an image. The image helps us to focus. And as I said earlier, all the practices take into account our situation and directly respond to problems that we have. And methods are given are there in order to be able to practice them. Of course, if we have to start contemplating ultimate reality, it wouldn't be easy for us. So when we think of the activity of our mind, there's always a duality. Of course, it seizes an object. So of course, we'll give you an object in meditation to help you. We know how to do that. And then we'll understand the meaning of that step by step. So we have to be diligent. try to appreciate the qualities of the practice, and with perseverance and great respect and esteem the practice, and gradually we'll be able to more focused for a longer period of time. Being concentrated, we should. It's not just the absence of distraction, where the mind has to be forced to. When we try to force the mind, we have a lot of difficulty. It's like trying to tame a wild animal. If you put it in a cage and you hit on it, you'll never tame it. I have to focus, I have to concentrate, it will never work. So how to tame a wild animal? You have to give him something nice to eat, pat him. So our mind has to appreciate the practice. Our mind's a little wild, so it has to appreciate the practice. It has to appreciate serenity. So in meditation, the absence of distraction is characterized by a kind of immobility. The mind isn't jumping from left to right, and it has this natural capacity. If it appreciates it, it will stay immobile without effort. But if we try to concentrate it, to force it, it will be very difficult. It will rebel. It will rebel even more. So at the beginning, don't try to don't do it for too long. Just short moments, and the distractions come. Don't blame yourself. We've had distractions for so long, but at least now we can try. We're starting to confront the problem, and gradually the duration the period we're able to stay like this will grow. I was wondering, with regards to the bodhisattva vows, is it something... How do we know when we're ready to take them? Can we take them anytime? Even, knowing that we have tendencies, we're imperfect. Well, one of the obstacles is to say, oh, it's too difficult for me. We shouldn't think that. If you have heard the instructions on the bodhisattva vows and it inspires you, then when you have the occasion to take them, you should try to take them. Try to generate this aspiration. The vows of bodhisattva vows, the better is to try and take them with a master who holds the lineage of transmission. But it can also be obtained directly in front of an image of the Buddha, and you can imagine the Buddha. But if you have the opportunity to take them through a lineage of transmission, it's better to do it that way. Just maybe one last question. I thank you very much. I was very happy to meet with you again, to be with you, to be able to share with you the Dharma. I hope that these explanations will be useful for you, in particular for your practice, to apply the Dharma. And I know we will see you soon. The summer is starting in a few days, and before the end of summer, we'll meet again. And I'm very happy about that. And I wish you a very, very lovely, good summer. And to conclude, I invite you to dedicate merits.
Diye tamche siba nye tone nyebe ranam pamche ne cheka na che balab choba sibe sole rowa rowar sho changchub semcho rimbo che ma che panam che juruch che ba nyamba meba tang kong ne kondo pe war sho.